Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Rob Evans 365. This is day number 411, and I'm out for a early morning walk again this morning. I'm enjoying having a little space to get out and enjoy my morning walk, so thanks for joining me today. Today's Tuesday, and it's the start of a new week. I know it's not Monday, but it's the start of that new week. First few days of the week, and hopefully you are continuing to set yourself up for success. You're focusing on moving more and doing all the things that we've spoken about over these last 10 days. I want you to make sure that you keep implementing, because you get a great idea, like I said yesterday about the reading of the books. You get some great concepts and you think, I'll do this, and you either do it for a little bit or you don't do it at all, and then you go looking for something else. I was like, but hang on, you already found something that was working or sounded good. You just stop doing it. And this is the problem that we have with our resilience and our sense of I suppose hunger. We need to keep being hungry in order to be successful. And I know I talk about success a lot, but if you want to be successful in your health and fitness, then you need to listen to and do what it is that I'm saying that you need to do, because otherwise anything less is going to give you mediocre results. You're not going to get that ultimate body, that ultimate health that you truly want. Because believe me when I say that it's just there. It's not as far away as you may think it is. Even though in your mind you might be creating this great big mountain that you need to climb, and some people's mountains are smaller than and bigger than others, but it's this consistency, this easy implementation of baby steps every day that makes the difference. You've just got to keep doing it. So we've got to keep that momentum going. We just have to. So how do we do that? How do we keep on driving forward? Well, obviously, as I've said over this last 10 days, you have to keep listening every day to me. You have to keep actively looking to grow yourself every single day, because it won't just happen. You have to set aside the time in your day to make sure you get these things done. And when you do, you'll start to get the results. But I guess a big part of this has to come down to your mindset, doesn't it? And if you go back and listen to the very first week of podcasts, you'll hear me say about where I start everybody, about connecting with your why things are really important to you, and identifying very clearly what it is that you actually want is so crucial. Because until you get to those moments, you're just floundering and you have no direction. So we need to do that. But then in terms of your momentum, what's also important is that you've got to keep challenging yourself. Every day you've got to keep pushing. Maybe pushing yourself in a different direction, keep identifying what's an area that I need to keep challenging myself, and make sure that you're doing something very specific through the day to push yourself further forward in that area, because you will just fall back into that complacency situation, which takes away all your momentum. So think about if you've gone to a conference before and you're all pumped up about the conference, and you think, wow, this is fantastic, and you get all these great ideas, and when the conference is over, you do nothing. You do nothing about it. It's like you've just had some of the best experiences of your life here, and you've come up with some fantastic ideas, but you're not following through, you're not implementing. Why would you do that? It's because we get lazy. We think, well, that's going to require work, that's going to be hard. I'll just fall back into doing what I was doing before because that's what I was doing before and it's nice and easy. So we don't want you to fall into that trap. So how do you pull yourself out of that? I think one of the first things you need to do is to have an awareness about who you are, what you are, and what it is that you want, and what it is that you're doing on a daily basis, so that you can call yourself out and say, hang on a second, I need to be doing this, not this, and then shift. It's a real challenge for you, but ultimately the fast track to all of this is to get a coach, because your coach will be able to, well, a good coach will be able to tell you exactly what it is that you need to be doing, and then put in those accountability strategies with you to make sure that you're staying on track. Because as humans, for us to perform best, we need accountability. We absolutely need accountability. We have to keep pushing forward, and the only way that we're going to be able to do that, to consistently achieve that high level of performance, is to have coaching, get that accountability in place, so that when you do, perhaps, you're not performing the best that you can, or you're slackening off a little bit, or you need some extra guidance, and that person is there to say, okay, you're doing well or you're not doing well. Hang on, you need to pull up your socks. You need to do these things. Why did you do that? Like, how did that work out for you? Okay, here are the things that I've seen that have worked really well for you. Here's what I think you need to be doing next. Let's do that. Let's check in tomorrow. Let's check in 2 days' time, whatever it is, so that you become more laser-like focused. Now, I haven't been the way that I have been all my life by any stretch, and I have, for years, floundered in certain areas because I've like, well, maybe if I do a bit here, but then I go over and I do a bit here, and I do a bit here, and try and do a little bit for everything, but then you find out that you kind of not really completing anything, or you're not doing it in a way that is, to the standard that you would be expecting of yourself, or the result that you would be expecting from those actions. It's only through, like I said yesterday, the reading, the coaching, the determination and drive to get a different outcome. But the thing that has taken me there fastest has been everything that I've done over these last 12 months, and that has been the coaching through JT, and that has been the biggest impact that my life has had in terms of action and resolution as to the fact that I'm on the right path and what I need to do with crystal laser-like focus. And otherwise I'd still be floundering now and think, oh, well, if I just do this, then I'll be okay. But I chose a different path because I was sick and tired of being mediocre. I thought, I'm just not going to do that anymore. And that has when a life has changed over this last 12 months for me. And like from here on, I think for me it's a 2-year plan from here as to what's going to be happening for me over the next 2 years in terms of, I think, the explosion of the business. There's going to be a bunch of things that happen within 12 months, but the big launch of the book isn't going to be until May in bookstores in the US next year, and that's when I think things will certainly change for me. So excited about all the work that needs to take place in between now and then. But my point for me is making sure that every day that I keep identifying those things that I need to do, not just doing the things that, or not doing things, or doing the things that are easy to do, but doing what's right. And that's not always easy to identify. I don't, by any stretch of the imagination, get it right all the time, but I think I'm getting better. Now, I know that I'm very different to most people that just tend to, dawdle on through life and don't put themselves in those positions of, okay, so how do I challenge myself today? How do I move this aspect of my life forward? Because let's face it, most of you out there listening to this are working for someone else. And often when you're working for someone else, you don't necessarily have that drive and commitment because you're working for a paycheck. You're driving someone else's dream, or would that be the owner, another owner, or shareholders, or whatever. You're not working for yourself as such. Now, some people find that still just as satisfying, loving to build someone else's dream, because the last thing they want to do is have to go through all the hassle of running a business, because it's damn hard. And a lot of people just don't want to do that, but they would love to be a key part of someone else's team to make their business grow and be successful, and just be remunerated accordingly by wage, commission, or whatever it is. It's different for me because I'm running my whole business, and when you've got full responsibility, it's got all the risk and all the reward. It's just that people normally want all the reward without the risk, and unfortunately that's not life, is it? If you want to get a bigger reward, then you have to take more risk in order to do that. It doesn't just magically happen for you. And I think because people in general are going to their jobs and just expecting to pick up a paycheck, and whether they turn up or not, they're still going to get that paycheck because of their sick leave and annual leave and all that kind of stuff. I think that it has a big impact on our performance. I'm generalising here, so I'm sure there's a bunch of you out there that are very dedicated and driven to the roles that you want. But the statistics are fairly clear that, like in our country here, it's something like 78 to 80% of people that go to work each day hate their job. They just hate their job. Most heart attacks, I believe, happen on a Monday as people are heading back towards, to the jobs that they don't like, that don't serve them, are unfulfilling. Oh, that's not even surviving. That's a terrible way to be living. Pardon me, but that's where most people do tend to live. So don't be like that. Don't you be like that. And what's important is, in this job that you're in. So I'll give you an example. I used to work with a guy, one of my previous jobs, and Rob was his name. G'day, Rob, if you're listening. And when he first joined the team, he was very much into the IT side of like websites and that kind of thing. And he was in a role, like he came to my role, where we were looking to use those skills to build some platforms and stuff to help support the contact center staff and so forth. In the end, he did a solid job with it. But I said to him a number of times that, this may not be the role for him. It may not be his dream job. He knew that he'd like to move into working with more websites and stuff. And I said, well, have you gone to have a chat with the general manager that looks after the website for the company? It's a big company. And he said, no. I said, well, that's what you need to do. Start having those conversations, and you just never know what can happen. But I said, what you need to do is realise that you're going to go through life and you're going to have a range of different roles. And each role you get may not be that dream job. And there are going to be some times where you don't know what it is that you want to be doing longer term, just like I didn't. And you don't know whether this is where you want to be putting all your energy, because you think, oh, well, I don't really think I like this. I want to do something else. We always seem to be looking on the other side of the fence, where the grass is greener. What can I be doing instead of this, as opposed to what can I do in this? Is what I said to him. What can you do in this role to absolutely maximize everything you can out of this role, putting everything into this role, and just seeing where it takes you, because you just never know where the next opportunity can come from. And in the organisation we were working with, I said the general manager we had at the time was a brilliant man, and he doesn't work at the company anymore, but he's a brilliant man. And I said, look, you make a really good impression on me, you make a really good impression on the GM, and if there is another opportunity that he becomes aware of, or I become aware of, that comes up, that we think you're suitable for, who do you think we're going to be talking to this person about and talking to you about? I mean, I'm always of the opinion that, I've always had sort of small, medium-sized teams that have worked with me. And I said, look, I am very realistic when it comes to staffing. And I always say to people that, look, chances are, statistics would say that we might be working together for maybe 2 to 3 years, maybe more, depending on the age of the person, but generally 2 to 3 years before you're going to move on to somewhere else, or I'm going to move on to somewhere else. At the time, I was moving on about every, probably about 4 years or so. I was finding that I was needing a new challenge. And I said to him, what you need to realise is that if you put everything into this, you just don't know when that next opportunity can come. But if you slack off, if you only give a 50, 60, 70% effort in this job, because it's not really where you want to be long term, you will probably remain in this role for a whole bunch longer than you expect to, because you haven't been performing. When it comes to moving internally, you're going to be finding that you'll be overlooked by somebody else who is a high performer. The job market is very competitive these days, so you can give yourself an edge by learning, listening to my coaching, and putting in 100% effort, and just making a slight switch in your mind. And I worked with both my last team on this one specifically, because they didn't like me. They didn't like the fact that I came in to shake up their world, and they wanted to basically slack off and just have an easy road, because that's the road that their previous manager had given them. And I said, well, that's not me. And in order for us to change that, you need to change your thinking. We need to change the culture of this team. So I said to them, the slight shift that I need you to make is that when you come to work every day, you've got a choice. You can choose to come into work and be really, really unhappy and grumpy and ungrateful for the fact that you've been put into a team, that you don't like your manager, you don't like the work that you're doing, you don't like the prospect of the potential change that's coming your way. Or you can come into work each day and leave that at the front door and say, do you know what? Yes, this may not be everything that I want it to be right now, but I'm going to give it my all and just see what opportunities come, because I know that I can really have fun at work, I can enjoy this role, and I don't know what I don't know. I don't know all the things that I can be learning, because I don't know what they are yet. So there is opportunity here, and I need to be open to receiving that. Now that's a completely different mindset, isn't it? So I worked on both my team at the time, and the transformation didn't happen overnight by any stretch, but the transformation that took place in the two of them, I think they would still be grateful for this day, because the enjoyment that they then started to get out of their roles was really amazing, and so pleasing for me to see that people could make that mind shift to say, do you know what? He's right. I need to look at this differently. I remember Rob saying to me that he took that home with him, and it had a different impact on his relationship and so forth, because he was sort of quick to lose his cool and stuff. And I think it had a dramatic impact on him. And so my point in telling you all that is that same for you in your job. You don't know where one thing could lead to another. You just don't know. And if I use my career as an example, so I left my hometown of Bendigo back in 1990 to come to Melbourne to work for Coopers & Lybrand, which is now PricewaterhouseCoopers. And what I wanted to do was become a chartered accountant, get plenty of experience, and move back to Bendigo and live happily ever after back in Bendigo. Now, I was down here and I was doing my chartered accounting, and I thought, I don't want to be a chartered accountant once I became one. Well, I wasn't a fully one. I had about a module or two to go, and I thought, I just don't enjoy this culture. Probably heard me talk about this before, and I decided that wasn't for me. So I then said, okay, where to now? I need to get out into industry. What's the easiest way for me to get out in industry? I didn't want to stay working as an accountant. The clients that I had audited, they were, qualified accountants, even chartered accountants, that then became CEOs and that kind of thing. And I thought, you know what, I want to get into, maybe not necessarily a CEO role, but I want to get into like a 2IC role, something like that. Was what I was thinking at the time. So I found a job within Telstra, which is a telecommunications company here, probably the biggest company in Australia at the time. And I worked in the statutory accounting area there, doing a job that was absolutely boring as bat poo. It was horrible. But there were certain aspects of it that I enjoyed. And I thought, you know what? There are other opportunities. Once I get in the door, there will be other opportunities in here. But the reality of it was in the city. It was taking a huge chunk out of my day. It was an hour and a half to 2 hours of travel each way, each day, and it was wearing away at me. So I thought, it's not for me long term. And they were overpaying. They were paying me the right amount, but they were paying too much for that role. And they were having me in that role do of way too junior work. And, I'd spoken to the managers about it. There was only so much that they could do. And so in the end, I just, by chance, an opportunity came up to work at RACV. And I went from statutory accounting to RACV. I was working in their internal audit division. And I was in there for about 4.5 years. That was probably the first time in my working life where I was working with a guy called Roger, and that was where I found my knowledge, certainly for audit and just the general risk analysis and so forth, really took a dramatic step up. And for the first time, I felt confident in what it was that I was doing. So I was very thankful to him for that. But over a period of time, I just found that I wasn't enjoying the culture of the team and all the work. And we're starting to go into state travel a fair bit, and I wasn't really enjoying that either because it was just interfering with my training and stuff. I was in a different place back then, so I didn't have all the tools that I have now to do it in a smarter sort of way. And I ended up moving internally, and Roger helped me get another position. I moved to a project area, and again, each time I was seeing these as opportunities to go to that next level. The trouble was, I didn't know exactly what it was that I wanted to do, but I would always put in what I considered 100%, because I just never knew where that could happen, that learning or opportunity could happen. And so I went into this project area, and we did a few different projects, like the GST project. Man, that was a long time ago. Implementation of GST in the country and in our company. So that was an exciting time. And then we had the Year 2000 project, which I was involved with that. And then we had a new MD, managing director, come into the company, and they wanted to, like any new MD that comes in, they do a restructure and all that kind of stuff. We had to slash, I don't know, something like 50 million out of the savings, out of the cost of the company. So I was on that project team, and we were looking at a couple of different business units, and some of the proudest piece of work that I've ever done, because we were given the directive to basically get rid of this division of a company, and Dan and I, my partner that were working on it, we did all the analysis and everything, spoke to management and everything, and we said, you know what, we think we can make some changes here to make this really work. And what was good for me was about saving the people's jobs and making something really profitable. And we were able to do that, and I won't go through all the details, but it was an exciting and stressful time. But basically that company it still exists today within the organisation because of that work that Dan and I did, and the fact that I stood in front of the executive general manager and I said to him that if this was my money, I would do this. And at the time, unfortunately, Dan, my partner, changed overnight and before the presentation and said, I wouldn't. And I'm like, Dan, what are you doing? I said, we disagree. He said, yeah, I really looked at it. I wouldn't do it. I'm like, oh, man. And I said, John was the name of the EGM. And I said, John, this is the right thing to do. I said, I would absolutely do it if it was my money. And he thanked us both. And he went off to the presentation. And he came back and he ended up voting to keep the business, and presented the case on that basis of, I guess, my emotional, passionate plea to him to do the right thing. And he did, and that was the first time that I've probably done something like that, and it's had such a big impact. And for the record, Dan was very pleased with the outcome as well. And that company still exists today. And my philosophy was, I'm just going to put everything into this. This seems to be the right thing to do. I didn't know where it was going to end me up in a role. And in fact, while we were going through this restructure process, the department that I was previously in, while I was on this project, was scrapped, and I knew that. So I knew that once this project ended, I was going to go into a redeployment pool where they would hopefully look to find me somewhere else. But I also knew that these big organisations aren't great at doing that. You've got to make your own success, don't you? So what I did was I said, right, I'm going to go to one of these companies, I say companies, but a business unit that was in the company that has been struggling, that we could see through the review, and offer to help them. So once the project finished, I went to them and said, look, I'm in the redeployment pool. You guys need some help. I've got some skills here where you can really benefit from. Let me help you. And so I got a 6 months secondment in there. Then they extended it for another 6 months. And then a role came up in this particular business unit. It was home security. And I applied for it. So obviously in a good position, because I'd been working in there for the last, 6-9 months. But it was a new external general manager in there. And I had to really jump through some hoops. But I did end up getting the position. And again, that was for the first time that I was in an operational role, away from being labelled as an internal auditor or just a project person. So that was a very big step for me. And once again, was I going to stay there forever? I didn't know. But it was about getting more experience. And again, after about 3 years or so, I was looking to have some further change, and I wanted to work with another general manager. And another opportunity came up, and I applied for that. And this was the first time I've ever had to do a series of tests like this, I think there were 3 different tests that were all timed, locked away in your room and stuff. And then they assessed the results of those, and then it was an interview. And Rod was the general manager at the time. Probably the most innovative person I've ever worked with, great man. And he sat down with me at the interview, when I got the interview, and he said, Rob, he said, your results for those tests we gave you are phenomenal. He said you by far outscored everybody else. And I think part of that was to do with my project skills, but also my risk management skills that I had developed through years of internal audit and working with Roger. And I got the job, and it was the most satisfying role I've ever had. It was really, really fantastic. I really loved it. But yet again, I knew that because the biggest part about the job that I enjoyed was working with Rod, and working with the team, shaping a team and stuff. And it was a smaller team than I was used to, which was like 10 to 12 previously. And I enjoyed the challenge that we had, and we did some fantastic work there. But again, it wasn't something that was thriving me. And I made the move from there to do what I'm doing now. But my point was, all the way along, I put 100% effort in because I just never knew what was that next thing. And I think when you lead your life like that, you're always putting in that 100% effort. And not saying, oh, well, I'll put 100% effort in when I find that dream job. I'm sorry to tell you this, but if you're not putting 100% effort in now, when you get to that dream job, or one, you may never find that dream job, or when you do get there, you're going to find that you have adopted such a mediocre work ethic where you're only putting in 70, 75% or so, and it's not going to show up in the way that you think it will or thought it would because of the way that you've been, conducting yourself. It does show up. It reveals the true person that you are. And life is short, right? So you don't want to be living life on someone else's terms and always hoping for that next thing. That's a bit like saying, well, when I make all this money, I'm going to retire and do all these things. Or when I win Tats Lotto, I will do this. Well, as I said the other day, the chance of winning Tats Lotto are so remote that it's just not going to happen to you, okay? So you've got to create your own success, create your own economy. They talk about, I heard the other day about a recession on the cards coming for Australia and probably the world. I mean, the way the world works these days, if it's a like the GFC back in, 2008 or something, it's coming again, they reckon. It's like, well, I'm not seeing it in my business because I'm aiming to create my own economy. Okay, so I'm creating products and services that people want. So it doesn't matter what's going on around because I'm creating my own economy for this. And that's what you need to be doing too. That dream job is not just going to come out and get to you. So what do you do to improve yourself? Well, you read books, you get the coaching, you grow. You don't have to go out and do the uni degree. You just keep working on yourself, developing new skills, developing your communication skills, your problem-solving skills, the areas of expertise that you want to, really drive. And you just keep doing that every day. You keep driving yourself, getting those skills every day so that when the opportunity does come, you take it with both hands because it's there and you're ready and you're hungry. The challenge for you is that momentum has to come from within you. You can't expect to go online and buy something and boom, there it is. There it is. It doesn't work that way. You've got to make your own success. Getting your coaching is going to be your fastest way to get you there. But it's up to you. And I love this. I heard this from JT the first time I met him.
and people say, oh well, it just wasn't meant to be. If something doesn't happen, oh well, just wasn't meant to be. Now that's mediocrity seeping into you to say that, well, I'm just going to accept a lower standard and use that to justify why I am where I am. What JT says is, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And that's so true. That's so true. You really want something, you got to make it happen. And you've got to shift all the obstacles that are in your way until you can make that happen, until you can get it done. My book's taken me about 10 years from, it seems like a good idea, down to a time frame of 12 weeks where I said, this is happening now. I'm going to do this now. Not by 31 December 2019, which is what I said probably in January last year. I said, no. I'm going to do this in this 12-week time frame, no matter what. I'm just going to get it done. And that's what I did. And that's what creates the focus. That's what creates the momentum. That's how you get the outcomes. That's how you start to move your life forward. The trouble is, people are just inching their life forward a tiny, tiny little bit every few years, or they're just not at all. They're just spinning their wheels. They're in the one spot, just going round and round, either in circles on the one spot, and not getting any closer to where it is that they want to be. And what's the point in that? I don't want to live like that. That's why I changed career. That's why I decided to make a massive move, shift out of a fixed wage paying job that was a high income, move out of that comfort zone into a dramatically different financial position for the first 6 months, because I knew that this is what was going to see me out for the rest of my life. This is where I was going to get the hunger and drive to change my life and take it to a level that I never dreamt possible. That's why I did it. You've got the ability to do this just as much as I do. The only thing you need to do is just decide. I just got to pop this on hold for a second, because I've been out walking and I am now busting for the toilet, so I've got to have a toilet pit stop. Hold on. Well, that's better. So I think there's a summary here of what it is that you need to be doing to keep that momentum moving forward. First of all, you have to have a hunger. You've got to have a hunger to want to change your life. Now, this is basically a health podcast, but as I keep saying, your health touches all areas of your life, and you can apply everything that I'm saying to your health, but you can also apply it to your entire life. But you've got to have a hunger for change. You've got to have a hunger to make yourself physically better. You've got to have a hunger to make your mindset better, to be a better person on all levels of your life. You've got to work every day, plan and work, schedule, implement what it is that you want to get better at. You have to keep doing that. You have to keep putting in 100% effort at your job, even if you don't like it. Now, if you're in a business and you're not liking it, then you've got some serious questions to be asking yourself about whether that's the type of work that you want to be doing. But if you're in a job and you just don't know how things are going to get to one spot to another, let's look at this example. I mean, my girls, when they're old enough, I absolutely want them to be getting jobs for a couple of reasons. One, so that they know what it's like to have that discipline of working. Also, the reward of you put in effort, you get paid. But also to make sure that they are know what it's like to report to people, know what it's like to take responsibility, to take action, to make decisions and have an influence over delivery of services. I think that's really important. Now, when people first start doing that, let's just say, I've heard many people talk about the leadership program that McDonald's run, for instance, and how good it is. So I actually have a client that works part-time in McDonald's and would dispute that. And maybe it comes down to the individual franchisee that's running it as to how that training goes. But from what I have been led to understand, it's world-class training. And wouldn't you love to give your kids a world-class team leadership experience so that they can then take that into their next role? Now, when people start out by working at McDonald's, or I've finished my accounting degree and I spent the first 2 weeks pulling out staples at our share registry office, and it was back in the day where things were microfilm. It's like, holy crap, man, I went to uni for 3 years for this. I mean, did I expect to stay there? No. Do you expect to stay in McDonald's? Most likely, no. Unless maybe you want to build up to maybe owning one day and having some influence over changing people's eating behaviours and putting in a healthier menu and stuff. But anyway, the point is that you go into something, you don't necessarily go into it with the prospect of knowing that I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. You do it because you know that, okay, I'm going to do this for a period of time, but then I'm going to move on to that next thing for me, or whatever that is. But you only get there and you only get the promotions within if you're seen to be putting in 100% effort. Put yourself in the shoes of your manager and say, okay, if I'm considering somebody for a promotion, then who am I going to be looking for? You want somebody that is doing all the right things and is passionate about what they're doing. They're enthusiastic, they're encouraging people. And everybody would like to be rewarded that way, but you only get rewarded when you put in the effort. So that's the person that you would look for if you were a manager. So then just run that same scrutiny over yourself. Are you doing that right now? Are you giving the best version of yourself right now? Because I would be prepared to say that no, you're not. You can do better. And be grateful for the fact that you have employment, if you do and you're listening to this. Be grateful for that and work hard in the role that you have while you're there so that you can help build someone else's business and do that for them. And you just watch, whether you believe it or not, whether it's work ethic or karma, whatever. But if you go through life and you're always doing the right thing by people, putting out good things, then that will find its way to come back to you somehow. It just does. But if you're trying to cheat the system and lie and cheat your way through, then you're in for a life full of pain. It's just not going to work out well for you. So do the right thing, put in 100% effort, and on the side, if you like, after hours, at lunch breaks, all that kind of stuff, in the morning, if you're traveling, you're learning, you're getting expertise in the areas that you want to become an expert in, and you just keep doing it. So stop taking the excuses of, I'm too tired, I don't have time. Make time. This is your life. Just make time. That's how you create momentum. And remember, most people aren't doing this. Most people are going to work, coming home, watching TV. I'm simplifying a few steps in between there, but you know what I mean. That's people's lives. They work, they come home, that's it. It's rare for people to work, come home, and work on themselves, or work on that dream, or go to work, working on themselves, work, have a break, work on themselves, work, come home, working on themselves, get home, work on themselves later at the night, in the night time, and keep doing that until they get what it is that they want. Most people won't do that. It sounds hard, doesn't it? but success is hard. Otherwise, everybody would have it. So that is where we're going to finish today. Create your own momentum. Have that hunger for success, that hunger to get better. Consistently be hungry. Consistently schedule what it is that you need to be doing. Put it in your calendar. Schedule. I need to be doing reading here, here and here. Put some in every day, even if it's for 10 minutes. 10 minutes before you go to bed. 10 minutes when you get up in the morning. Whatever it is, but at least 10 minutes so that you can keep working on your dream. Stay hungry, stay focused, and you will reap all the rewards. That's me out for today. I'll see you tomorrow.